and welcome to Breakfast Central on News Central. It's Monday and the trio indeed are back on your TV screens. My name is Joe Hansen.
My name is Benga Bo, and I'm glad to be back at work after all the weekend shenanigans. It's good to be here. We love our job so much. Man, we're so blessed, and I went to discotheque. I danced a little bit of dancing. We really thank God for little mercies. It's interesting that we come to work on a Monday morning and we're this happy, so chirpy, in great spirit. Thank God for journalism and broadcasting.
And thank God for good colleagues. Because if we actually didn't like each other.
It's true.
Who says I like both of you?
You can't pretend.
No, you like us. It shows
evidence. When you don't come to work, you are gasping for air. It's like, oh.
Like me, I love Olive.
I know.
I mean, beyond just liking you, I also love your outfit this morning. I love this too.
Don't say it.
This is Fly Away Peter, Fly Away Paul. I hope during the course of this broadcast, you are not going to just lift off at any point in time
and move.
Okay. Welcome to Breakfast Central.
What's that your slang? Going to say anytime.
No.
Only flat anytime.
It's Monday, you guys. This is Friday energy. I'm bringing it on a Monday. Anyway, to our audience,
it's a good way to
joining
start.
us. Welcome to Breakfast Central. We hope that you've had a good weekend and that you're ready to get the week started. Grab yourself a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, a bottle of water to kickstart the morning. And if you have to leave the house on Monday because you understand no food for a lazy man, make sure to carry your phone with you and stream live on YouTube. Carry us with you. I'll be taking your comments and your contributions in the chat box. You're welcome to Breakfast Central. I am Olive Emodi. And now let's start what we have come here to do.
I
was expecting that. Wake-up conversations this morning. So there's a new sheriff in town.
There's NSAS today. Memorial. NSAS Memorial.
Yeah.
NSAS Memorial.
Today's actually 20th of October.
Yes,
that's true. Today, because I know the protest is scheduled to happen today as well. Well, let's first of all hold a candle for all the lives that were affected by the NSAS protest in 2020. October 20th, 2020 is a day that we will never forget, because it was the highlight or the culmination of activities preceding that day, where young Nigerians took to the streets to protest an end to police brutality. It was End SARS. And in these protests, we saw for the first time a unity that we hadn't seen in young people. People coming together, buying drinks, feeding each other, at the Lekki toll gate, what's the other toll? The other Lekki Koyi Link Bridge, but primarily the Lekki toll gate. And on the 20th of October 2020, that was the worst time. And that redefined how protests have been done in Nigeria. Young people, unarmed Nigerians, unfortunately, some of whom are no longer here today. And for a long time, there were denials about this not having happened. And the panel was set. External bodies and agencies gave their feedback about the NSAS protest. The likes of DJ Switch had their lives changed forever. She was live streaming the occasion, and today she's not able to be in the country because it feels like a target has been put on her back. Maybe not overtly, but covertly, because she was pinned as an enemy of the government. But this is the sad reality, that there are people who are there today that are no longer with us today.
Although the government will continue to deny that anyone did die at the Lekki tollgate area, because the question usually asked is if there were families who lost a loved one, then they should step forward.
Oh, they did.
And we did hear that some families stepped forward, and in continuity or in continuation of the entire case, while the white paper, what's it called, was served, we did hear that some of the families were no longer heard from. It seemed like some had attributed the fact that they went into hiding. Some said their lives were not secured, and so on and so forth. But the martyrs, in quotes, who had died have continued to lead many to remember what they stood for. They stood for an end to police brutality. They stood for an end to being pushed to the wall. They stood for an end to indiscriminate killings, and you could also say they stood for what many Nigerians thought would never had happened. Celebrities had joined forces with You could talk about very important personalities at the Lekki toll gate, which seemed to be the citadel for the entire NSAS gathering. But then again, there were other states that were equally affected.
Let's not,
some other states too.
Let's not also forget that I think the aim of the NSAS protest was fulfilled, because shortly afterwards the SARS as constituted was disbanded, but we still have incidents of police brutality and high-handedness in the Nigerian police force. But just to let our viewers know that later on this morning, News Central will be bringing you an NSAS memorial special. Yes, 2 hours from 10 a.m. To 12 a.m. You can watch us as we analyze and go through everything that happened, and also monitor the memorial protests that are set for different parts of the country today. As we all know, Federal High Court did give a ruling in Abuja saying that the protesters should avoid highly secured and sensitive locations around Shehu Shagari Way in Abuja, the Presidential Villa, the Court of Appeal, and also Eagle Square in Abuja. We have our correspondents in standby in different parts of the country to bring us the latest updates on that. So,
but just to clarify, that the protest that is being referred to, that is scheduled to happen today, is not related to the NSAS protest or the End Bad Governance protest. It's a protest spearheaded by Mobilisation, the Take It Back movement, and a number of Igbo leaders who have also supported this movement. It is the Free Nnamdi Kanu protest. These people are kicking against the way in which the federal government has handled Nnamdi Kanu's case. Recall that he's been in federal government's detention, even contrary to what some would say have been court orders. He's been held back by the government. He's been charged for treason and a number of other crimes. And his case has been frustrated, now started over again. And they're saying, really, just free this man. He asked for medical access to, get proper medical treatment, and he wanted to leave their custody to get proper medical treatment. They've assessed him and analyzed him, and after the assessment, they've come to the conclusion that Nnamdi Kanu is fit to stand trial. But there have been criticism about the way in which this case has been handled, saying that he's been charged for terrorism, treason, saying that he's incited people through social media to call for the Republic of Biafra. And it is all of these reasons that the federal government has held him down, even against court's judgment. So what the next steps are, we do not know. It would seem that the pushback against this protest, because there have been pushbacks from the police that attempted to use the court to stop this protest from happening, a movement that has failed, and the court has refused to stop this protest from happening. They've just designated that certain areas should not be protested at. But one thing that has been pushed for, one thing that has been argued against, is the manner in which many feel that he's been treated unfairly, and that this matter should have been resolved a long time ago. There are those, on the contrary, who also believe that this has gone beyond the judicial or illegal matter, and that it should be resolved politically. People have thrown their support for it. There are those who have kicked and stood against it, and there are those who have even said that they will do a counter-protest to these protests. And gentlemen, let's get your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, having people do a counter-protest is what we've started seeing to become the norm here in Nigeria, where if anyone decides to go to protest, somebody will come out and say, I will protest your protest. It's basically like you have people who just sit down because of being jobless. They just want to engage themselves in one act or the other. Maybe they've been financially supported or induced.
Mobilized.
Mobilized. Yeah, I like that word. That's what they usually use. Mobilized. So they can now move from point A to point B. But notwithstanding, while we could talk about that it's exactly what we expected to see today, let's also mention quite clearly that as we proceed today, good enough, News Central will be covering every single part of it. So you could trust us to bring to you updates and let you know what Nigerians are actually saying about this. But talking about what Nigerians are saying, can we also find out what Nigerians are saying concerning this story? Well, we'll talk about that in a bit, but let's move on to another one very quickly.
We're not taking on the story.
Well, later on, maybe because
I want to mention a few bodies that have been in support.
Yeah.
National Association of Nigerian Students, which we typically would see throwing their support to certain causes. They have distanced themselves from the Free Nnamdi Kanu protests. Okay. The ED of Lagos Trade Fair has urged complex occupants to shun the Free Nnamdi Kanu protests. The NCOS have declared correctional centers red zones. Then NYCN cautions Nigerian youths against Free Nnamdi Kanu protests. And the U.S. Embassy has warned that there's a possibility of violence at the Free Nnamdi Kanu protest.
Yeah,
so
but
like
protest an inalienable right of Nigerians.
Exactly.
As enshrined in the Constitution.
It is our right.
Who are all those people?
But again, I think going back to the fact that October 20 was a very sensitive time for protests in Nigeria, because October 2020 changed the trajectory of how protests are done. So I think there's a bit of fear and concern in that regard.
That's why some people are protesting other people's protestations.
Anti-protest protests.
Now you know.
Are they Protestants?
Anyway, let's move to the next story very quickly. Olive Mupita is in the news as well.
Well, yes, the new INEC chair, Joash Mupita, who is the first INEC chair who is a professor that has a background in law. Very interesting profile he has there. He's, of course, been congratulated and hitting the ground running. There are projections of what needs to be done to ensure that we reach that level of trust, to ensure that IREV, the platform, the electoral platform where we review our results on the go, that is sorted, so that the glitches that hindered 2023 elections will not be an issue again. They're saying that they want to ensure that, everyone, good and bad, can applaud the authenticity of the elections. Let's listen.
I believe what happened in 2023, which was subsumed as a glitch, before we went into the election, my own understanding and based on the review of the decisions of Supreme Court, we found that there was no clarity as to the purpose of IREF. Not until the Supreme Court came out to say that IREF was not an electronic collation system. And that position was not properly brought out before the election. The INEC was supposed to be a safeguard for comparison, because the laws made by this distinguished Senate did not do away with manual collation. However, IREF was supposed to provide some guarantees and checks and balances. But owing to the issues of glitches, which in simple time, I understand as improper configuration, especially during the presidential election, that eroded the confidence of so many people. So, as His Excellency the Senate President said, I have to audit the system if I'm given the opportunity to see what is actually wrong and whether we have what it takes as it is now. Because it is not just the INEC responsibility alone. You have the other agencies like NCC, NIMC, and the service providers that will have to work together to ensure that we give Nigerians a technology that everybody will be happy about. And I want to believe that.
So there's a new INEC boss who wants to work on the IREV. He says, looking back in retrospect to what happened in 2023, the goal is to ensure that the IREV works perfectly well. But I would say that's a good move. That's a good promise. We do recall that the former INEC boss at Chatham House had made a very bold declaration. He himself said to everybody that, listen, during this election, we're going to transmit the results. We're going to use the IREV, we're going to use the BVAS, everything. He made grandiose promises. Everybody took it.
That's what makes Professor Mupita, that's it, the former INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud.
This was where he made the big pronouncement. Everybody was like, yay!
Well, good to go. You know, the verdict on the last elections and on Professor Mahmoud Yakub's administration as INEC boss is that people would always remember him as overpromising and under-delivering. And that's where Professor Mupita is picking up the baton by saying that he will do an audit. He's starting from the right part. what went wrong the last time we had general elections? What are we going to do about the system? How do we instill trust back in Nigerians for INEC? And I believe, I mean, with all the necessary support it needs and the staff, they should be able to, restore confidence and trust in our electioneering system.
He has his work cut out for him.
Also, I hope the next time we have, debates and the electoral season, we stop going to Chatham House. Chatham House is the equivalent of our own Nigerian Institute of International Affairs. Okay. So let's go to NIA in Victoria Island and have these debates and conversations. We don't have to go. What are we going to London for?
I know I
to
asked
discuss
that
issues that have to do with Nigeria.
Yeah.
Do the British Prime Ministers, have you seen Kemi
do they come to Abuja?
And Sir Keir Starmer coming to Abuja to come and discuss British domestic politics? So
it's a working vacation.
This is 2025.
It's a working vacation that some of them use it to take.
It's a working vacation, I see. And they want to shop at Harrods and other places you shop.
I've not reached that age.
I don't know what you are talking about here. Let's see what Nigerians are saying very quickly so we can move on. Nigerians are talking about this concerning the professor. And Truth 23 says, this man is very intelligent. He has told you from the statement that IREV is not relevant for coalition according to the law. So even if he audits, it doesn't mean he will rely on IREV unless the law is amended. This professor is sound. I doubt if he will use IREV. Then what is he going to use?
Why is he auditing?
Okay.
Why did we spend billions by
Igwe says, why the screening if there is just one nominee? The people listening just want to feel as though they are doing the right thing. Igwe is not buying what the INEC boss is saying. Ejimo 4 says we can go fully electronic. There won't be much need for so much in terms of logistics. Vote on a display screen. Info is immediately recorded and registered on the system for review from the polling unit, collation center, and voters. It should be tracked real time.
This is what you call technology.
Technology.
That's what the Ejimo is asking.
But that's actually the truth. That was the hope that Nigerians had. And those were the promises that were being made, that they would be transmitted in real time.
Hope is not strategy.
It is not a strategy.
And it's one thing to wish for something. Implementation and execution is another.
Yeah. He's just given a beautiful speech that he can't be allowed to implement. He's just sweet-talking his way into the office. Once he gets the job, he'll work against this very speech he gave here. If you show him this very speech, he will say he was misunderstood or misquoted. You see how bad the level of mistrust has got.
I mean, the pessimism and lack of trust.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So where do you begin to change this type of person's mind?
So the only way, exactly, the only way that you can change this kind of person's mind and all the other skeptics is by ensuring that there is results delivered. If there isn't a result delivered, if they're not seeing the changes that have been made, the only way to convince Nigerians that INEC is on the side of truth and on the side of the people is to carry out an election so free and fair that the victor and the vanquished, there'll be really no victor and no vanquished. Everybody would agree that of a truth. This is the right election. Just like what we saw in Ghana.
I mean, before the elections rounded up, I mean, the opposition had just said congratulations already. Because it was
President Bola Jonathan.
Yeah.
He didn't even try to argue. He said, okay.
It's obvious that,
let's get to the point
that's
where...
That's what you call more work and less talk.
Yeah, it's not learning smart and let's go to court. Anyway.
I don't know.
Let's move away from the INEC conversation to our third conversation, which is... okay, Benga, please go ahead and take this.
I needed to clear my throat for that. And it's one thing Joe Hansen has been highlighting also in the course of our programming here on Breakfast Central. And I think the chicken has come home to roost, or maybe not fully, because there are those that don't see it as a problem. There are those that see it as a way of youth empowerment, which is negative. And sometimes the monsters we made will come back to haunt us. And I'm talking about the menace of area boys, because it's become a security threat, and they've become unofficial tax collectors in the markets, on your roadside. You pray not to get into an accident or you have to change your tire, because I really don't even know where they come from, and they harass and demand for payment just for you to change your tire or something like that. So this gentleman was driving and he ran out of fuel. So he had to go, get a jerry can, go to the petrol station, came back, and he was harassed by area boys who demanded for some type of payment before he's allowed to fuel his car. So let's just watch.
They are saying that he cannot, the fuel that he bought with his money, he cannot pour it inside his car.
What's happening?
Hey, this is funny. Different things are happening in Lagos State, not even Nigeria now. In Lagos State. Where the guy buy?
I mean, this is basically extortion, and the authorities need to do something about it. It's a ticking time bomb. It's not a ticking time bomb. It's a clear and present danger. They're everywhere around you in Lagos. They're just waiting for opportunities. I've also been a victim. My friend and I were driving down Western Avenue a few years ago, and we had a flat tire. And you should see, I mean, that's one of the wrongest places you want to ever have a flat tire. But what could we do? We had to stop to change the tire. And we just had to use all the wits, and of course we did transfer money. It was daylight robbery and extortion, protection money, so that they would allow us to change our tire in peace. It's really, really sad. I hope the government can do something about it.
I was just sharing with the team whilst the video was playing a message I received from a friend this morning who had a bit of a car issue. So I replied, I sent a message saying, how far, car sorted? And then I began to see a number of messages. I'm just scrolling there. All right. It says, the battery ran down while trying to start. So we took the battery to a battery charger. When we fixed back this battery, this car started once. While we were there, area boys came to visit. I went to get cash from one POS. I had to sort everybody for doing nothing, literally, but Adupe. And this is not a story that is particular to this friend of mine. Benga has shared his. I've had mine. In fact, Joe Hansen was with me on the day my own happened. I'd had a flat tire, I was driving to work, and I immediately called Joe. Joe was some minutes behind me. I literally had to park. Joe parked behind me, and whilst trying to sort it out, young boys came from different parts, from nowhere. And the thing is, you just don't know where they come out from. They just come out.
It's like they have some
It's like they've been waiting for you.
On the road, yeah.
And then they all just came out, and they had removed my tire. We're about to change it, and they said, oh. And the thing is, we didn't even ask them. We didn't even ask them. They were the ones, they would almost come and impose on you the need to change your tire for you. And they would remove it and tell you, okay, so now we've removed it. You must drop money.
And while they're doing that, another one comes and says, who authorized you to collect money?
Yes, so it was not like faction against faction.
Yes.
It was faction against faction. I think they were asking us for 20,000 that morning. It was about 5:30 a.m. 20,000. And it's a menace in our society. Something that needs to be looked into.
Normalized it. We have accepted that we're going to live with this, which is highly dysfunctional. These are unemployed Nigerians. Some of them may be employed, but not gainfully employed. But it's no excuse to go around harassing. This is extortion, to put it lightly.
Let's call a spade a spade. If the Lagos State governor is watching, I think he has failed in responding to this crisis. There are numerous videos you find on social media where there's one a lady did recently. She put it out, if you recall, and she was screaming and calling the governor's name and saying, what is going on in Lagos State? And it's still happening till today. And the governor has said nothing. There's been no response, even from the FRSC. You're expecting that possibly they will say, oh, listen, from the police and so on and so forth. But it's nothing.
Radio silence.
Silence.
And they're getting more emboldened. Do you recall the video of the Oshodi intersection where they were taking toll from pedestrians that were crossing the bridge? That's how emboldened they've gotten. And they have this, this... what's it called? Entitlement mentality that you owe something.
So the challenge for me is how, again, like going back to what you said earlier, as a society, we've already accepted that thugs are a part of what our everyday reality is. From the moment you park your car, there's somebody, even if you're parking in a mall that has a parking space, there's an expectation that you have to give one of the Agberos their money. You're trying to build a house. You've paid for every necessary payment. Then you have to sort omonile. You're trying to move houses. Or I'm trying to move something from my mother's house to my house. Maybe I decided to, give her my fridge or change something. Or let's say I'm even moving my fridge to her house. I would have to pay the omoniles on the road. You pay at different points. They will collect money from you. Moving houses is another ordeal. So there are several areas we see them, and it's unfortunate that we've accepted the reality that paying thugs is part of our culture. It is not.
I think I want to pull a string this morning. I think we Nigerians were docile people, and I'm going to say
but the truth is, what can you do when you're stranded at 5:30 a.m.?
No, I'm not saying you should fight.
I'm not saying you should fight them.
You should take
I'm saying taking the matter to the authorities, to the government.
Now, by doing what we're doing, calling them out, and making it a public health and safety issue.
I'm not going to say carry out 2 weeks of activism in calling for this, but if it demands that should be done, and there are people who have faced the heat, then everybody should come out and talk.
Okay.
And we have the power. We're just going to use our voice here, because we've all been victims, whether you like it or not.
Okay, I thought we were talking about the individual scenarios.
Oh, no, you're just going to make things worse.
It's one person against like 20
No, he's talking about calling on the government, taking collective action, and holding the leaders accountable to do something about it. Youth unemployment, youth restiveness. Why do you think Circle Mall is always hit anytime these are crimes of opportunity?
All right.
There's a social process.
It's just sad that we're looking to wrap up, but we have to put this. This should be a special topic, by the way. I'm on.
All right. Do we have time very quickly for the final story? If we do. All right. Let's really take reactions to this story about thugs. This is a normal thing in Lagos. Boys are not alone. They are backed by the system in Lagos. If you buy a television that you want to use in your house, you will give them money on every street junction. If you fail to do that, your side mirror or body chrome is already off. What? If your car suddenly goes off on the road, just come out to check it. You can no longer get into it without giving them money. Lagos has the highest rate of jobless youth in southern Nigeria that thrive on extortion. This person, this really just echoed my thoughts. When you sit and watch someone get harassed and robbed in broad daylight without doing anything to help them, forgetting that tomorrow it might be your turn, that's how this becomes a normal thing in Lagos. No one said anything when it started. Valid.
Anyway, all Jide Ojo says, make your car no break. Okay, make your car no break down for Chevron. Chevron, Aja, Ilaje, Ebamade Sonya or Ikota, then go beat you, still collect money. Aja own worst. LOL, Nigeria police go just look you come office. And that's the truth.
Happy customer service.
That's the truth. And then the police is saying happy customer service. Who is the customer? Tiny customer.
And the worst part is, even when people get into accidents, your normal human feelings and empathy, your humanity should kick in.
No,
this guy is still extra.
They come here and say, what's going on?
When Konga had an accident around that Chevron area, they robbed him. Instead of getting help. These are very terrible people.
Anyway,
and
it's sad. It's sad. But I think it's high time we place our focus on this particular subject. We'd like to wrap things up here this morning on Wake Up Conversation. Let's bring to you a lot that's coming up later on. But before we go,
I think this is an important story to take. Over the course of the weekend, the big story made the news. It was the story about the Senate representative representing Delta North constituency, Senator Ned Nwoko, and the issue with his wife, Regina Nwoko. Regina Daniels came out on social media to accuse her husband of violence. There were videos to that effect, and maybe we should share with you some of the videos and the post to that effect. Let's take a look.
No. In Ned Nwoko's house, I am nothing. But in my house, I am a queen.
No, you're still as valuable. Mom, look at me. Look at me, Mom.
Baby, once again, I cannot stand the violence. It's too much. It's too much.
Don't go give water now. Don't go give water. Just relax.
Drink water. I beg, give her water, Daria.
Just wait.
I tell you want something.
Just relax.
Wait. Shame on you.
Are you bringing out a gun?
Can you imagine this?
Madam, we are begging you, please. Please,
Now do it, somebody use fight. I mean, now do it, somebody use fight. No more in the fight. Masami, calm down. Masami, don't do. You don't do.
I will take you down.
You don't do. Okay, let me chase them.
So these are videos posted and allegations of violence against Regina Daniels. There's been a response, and the response is from her husband, Senator Nnamdi Kanu. He posted videos and clips on his page with a caption, which we'll share with you shortly. And in this caption, but before that, let's also share her brother's tweets about, or his post on the stories regarding all of this. If our producers can please put this up as well, so that we can make reference to that. He says, Makachi, it pain me say una won't finally laugh my sister. Let me repeat, anywhere where man they beat woman, whether na my sister or not, I go fight with my blood. Senator Nnamdi Kanu, you get luck, say after you beat my sister again, smash her head for war, you run, come out, send thugs. I swear, I for bust all your jaw. He's gone on a series of rants on Instagram, on his Instagram stories. I don't know if we have the other ones, but there's also been a response by Senator Nnamdi Kanu, and this is his response. He says,
all right, he says, Regina was not always like this. Her current battle with drugs and alcohol abuse is the root of our problem. She must continue her rehabilitation program, or I fear for her life and safety. Now she has moved to a place where she will have unrestricted access to drugs. I have other wives and none will ever accuse me of violence. Regina is a violent one here, slapping and hitting 3 staff in the past 48 hours and destroying property, including cars and windows, for no just cause. The truth is, I have set a clear condition for her to accept rehab in Asokoro or outside Nigeria, especially Jordan, where she will not have access to drugs. A clear-headed Regina would have taken Moon to the hospital, but instead she even threatened to kill our resident nurse for exposing her drug abuse. While I took Moon to the hospital, a scene of chaos unfolded at home, orchestrated by Sammy, Regina's main drug supplier. Another known supplier of drugs to Regina is a tiny evil devil called Ann.
Oh, tiny evil devil.
I mean, apologies.
so who is the Ann that he's referring to?
I don't know.
We don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. But the point is, when I saw the story, I said, listen, this is family matter.
Exactly.
It don't concern me.
It concerns also.
I mean, this sort of thing plays out in many families.
It concerns us.
But maybe because they are public figures.
No.
The issue of drug abuse, mental health,
the concern
and domestic violence. Yes.
I push back, yes.
Okay.
It concerns us because there is a huge allegation of domestic violence, and it's because people like Osinachi did not speak up that unfortunately she has passed. She's no more. Because society will still keep shaming people and shaming women who have been abused and staying in their homes. If there is a claim of domestic violence, it should be investigated, especially
even the Senate Ethics Committee.
Exactly, especially when it's even with a public figure, a person who is supposed to be the keeper of laws. He's a legislator. In Senate crimes, that has a potential to wreck your career. If you don't see the seriousness of that and come to address it and allow a thorough investigation, because multiple sources, from her, from her brother, there have been allegations that this isn't the first time that this is happening. Open up yourself for investigation. And if truly he says that Regina has been taking drugs, he's a senator, he's a lawmaker. Why did he not report? Why did he not involve the NDLEA? If you really want to blame it on Regina that she was taking drugs, why was there no reports made? This feels like medicine after death.
Pause. Let's rewind. So a senator, a citizen senator, has a family member taking drugs and did not report to NDLEA.
No, he should have. No, not in that sense. I'm just saying he should have taken steps to address. And maybe, because we don't have the full details, maybe he's attempted to send her to rehabilitation, like he said in the statement. She didn't.
But he mentioned the suppliers too. How come the suppliers have not been caught?
little and
you see, I said it, no concern.
Exactly.
Why I said
no,
it
concern us.
If we start talking now, we start on.
No. It definitely concern us. It's public information.
These are the videos he put out showing Regina's anger issues.
According to him, I mean, these are the allegations, and also
smashed, cars and tried to beat.
And this is not to say that if Regina was violent and smashing cars,
we don't know the story apparently.
No. I'm analyzing from the information that has been shared.
Okay.
From both sides. This is not to in any way excuse violence. If Regina was violent truly, if she was smashing all those cars, then she should also be investigated and she should be made to face the law. You don't go about trashing, property. And if she's really become addicted to drugs and has become, a risk to her family, that's also another issue that should be investigated. However, you must recall that this man married her a very young girl.
There's a 40-year difference.
She was 18 or 18 when she married this man.
Wow.
So she literally grew up in his house. Whatever lessons she has learned over the course of her adult life, she learned while being Senator Ned Nwoko's wife. Whatever things she grew up in this house. Was she taking these drugs before she got married? These allegations of drugs, were they there? So the question is, he should be able to put his house in order, is what I'm saying. And if there are allegations about violence, shame on people who will laugh. I mean, you may not agree with Regina Daniels' choices, you may not agree with her lifestyle, but all the people who will come out to mock her because she's being abused and say, hey, sure, you went to marry an older man. Shame on all of you. All the people who will mock her as a result of that. It is her decision, but we say we will always kick against any form of domestic violence. It's terrible.
I agree with you.
What we're saying, and just to conclude, what we're saying is there needs to be an investigation. Let's know who is telling the truth.
Olive.
There needs to be an investigation into all the blood.
By the Nigerian police.
Yes.
Olive.
I don't think the Nigerian police is going to
I
act
dare
on this.
the Nigerian police to investigate this case, and I dare them to bring it to a conclusive end.
The Nigerian police has
I'm saying it, and that's why I said
I have no hope.
Because whether you like it or not, take note. When oftentimes you hear Nigerians saying a family issue, it doesn't mean that we are trying to exempt ourselves from looking into that story. It's because we know where it will end.
Which is unfortunate.
That's how sad it is.
Because the truth is,
once the person involved in it has some form or a measure of power or entitlement on his shoulder, it's gone. It's a no-brainer. It's going to be wrapped up in a space where nobody will be able to see it. Whether you're a Nigerian, you're interested in this story, you can go online, fight, type, shout, make noise, story. Nothing. So
my question is, in the videos that we saw, where we saw blood that her brother posted, whose blood were those? The videos of her massaging swellings and all and holding ice to her face. Who inflicted those injuries on her? That should be investigated. It should be, again, like Joe said, what should be and what will be are two completely different things. But he's alleged that they've used the gun to hit her. And this is a call to women and men who are living in marriages where you're being abused. It is only the person that is alive that can fight for tomorrow. If you're living in a marriage where you're being physically abused, there's no other advice anybody can give you other than to live for your life. Because tomorrow you become a flyer, people will post your picture and say, hey, RIP. And after 1-2 days, everybody will move on from their story. They have the courage. What will people say should not be an excuse for people who are in, physically violent situations? There's
also a twist to that. That statement you just made, I'm also going to throw it as well to flip to the guys.
No, I said men or women.
I'm trying to bring out the aspect. If she was the one who was really abusive and I was attacking, then why was the senator still harboring her? Why didn't he say, listen, you are attacking the people, you're acting strange, going forward, you're the fourth, I think you need an apartment of your own, leave. And then he could put a mandate. But you see, like they always say, and like I learned, we don't have the full story. We don't know the details. And that's why I say it's a family problem. If the police decide to handle it properly, like they should, professionally, then the senator
due to what has become public knowledge, like what Olive highlighted, like the violence, the body harm, and all of that, they have a duty to investigate.
These are not just flippant allegations. I can come now and say, Joe said something I didn't like, and the police it's not their business to come into that, so long as there was no libel there. But this one is
a threat to life.
Or a threat to life. But it's a crime. If somebody alleges that they were hit, they were assaulted, it's a criminal offense. And a criminal offense is not something that you can say, oh, you know what, I forgive you. It's an offense against the state.
The police have once again been put on the spotlight.
Now,
our dear IGP, our dear police spokesperson, now, show us that you were...
Let's find out what the truth
customer service
is.
Show working.
Anyway,
Happy customer
let's see what
service.
Nigerians are saying about this matter, and then we'll come to wrap Wake Up Conversations up. On X, we have a husband publicly admitting that the wife does drugs and abuses alcohol is not good for the sake of the children involved. Marriage may crash, but children's image and health should be respected and protected. Do better, sir. That's what Friday says. All right. This one says, Regina was not always like this. He's quoting him. He says, Regina was not always like this. Her current battle with drugs and alcohol abuse is the root of our problems. Dear Senator, abuse is not the root of your problem. What was she trying to escape from through drugs and alcohol? The right answers are the root of the problem. Interesting. Shegun Ajayi says, drugs and domestic violence, these two are interconnected, but hypocrisy won't allow people to see it. There's no way a wife could be high on drugs and destroy her husband's property without him trying to intervene, which might then be framed as domestic violence. And Saddam says, this situation is deeply unfortunate and calls for compassion, not chaos. I completely agree. If what's stated here is true, then addiction has become the real enemy, not either party. Drug and alcohol abuse destroy families silently, and rehabilitation, not public confrontation, is the only sustainable solution. Both Ned and Regina should prioritize private therapy, family counseling, and professional rehab for her recovery. Protect the child, lower the public noise, and let healing take the front seat. Families are meant to be mended, not mocked. While I understand where Saddam is coming from, I also, again, want to double down on the investigation of physical violence. If, from what we saw, there was a lot of scuffle in the video. There were allegations of her being hit with a gun. We could see blood. Whose blood was that? Who inflicted that
physical violence on all parties, even the allegations that Regina was physically violent.
I did mention that. I did mention that should be investigated. Nobody has a right to hit another person. The fact that the person is working for you doesn't make them your punching bag. They're not your child. And even with your child, there's a limit to what you can do. The West is kicking against any form of corporal punishment against children. You can't even beat children abroad. So why would you be beating an adult here? So I think that there should be a thorough investigation. But more importantly, just to highlight that people should learn to show compassion. Right now, there are those who, in all of this, she's always taking the fault as the younger person. They always blamed her for her choices. At the end of the day, it's her choice, what she wants to do. But what we shouldn't do is if she comes out to say she's been abused, to mock her. Because we're furthering a culture that makes people who are in abusive relationships not want to talk. And I'm talking men and women. For men, they won't want to speak up because they will feel like they are men and they shouldn't let people know that their wives are hitting them. And for women, they don't want to speak up because what will people say? What will people say will not save your life. I hope that we can do the right thing. That's all that we have this morning on Wake Up Conversations. Let's now share with you what our top stories are on Breakfast Central. Nnamdi Kanu protest to hold today despite police warnings. Nigeria missing from International Monetary Fund IMF list of Africa's fastest growing economies. That's very surprising. PDP crisis deepens as National Secretary Ayaun petitions DSS over alleged signature forgery. Free Nnamdi Kanu now protests. Showore insists no court order stops planned match. And the newspaper front pages will form a key part of the show this morning. Stick around for more.
All right, welcome back. Yes, I bet you were expecting to see us in a different setting, but hey, we are here just to continue our Breakfast Central, and this time we do have our correspondent who is on ground to join us live from where the incidents took place. When we talk about the incidents, we're reminding ourselves of what happened in October of 2020. Bernard Akere joins us this morning. He's live there at the Lekki toll gate, which, if you remember, brings some form of reminiscence of what had taken place that particular day or days leading up to October 2020, starting from October 8 to October 2020. Bernard, good morning to you.
Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Benga. Good morning, Olive.
All right.
Good morning.
What's it like? Any security operative around, cars, trucks? You know, just tell us what's happening, build up to the remembrance of October 2020.
Well, it's business as usual. Vehicles are moving as swiftly as they should on a Monday morning. But of course, as you asked, the only difference will be the presence of police officers and security operatives. To my right, you'll see that in a few seconds. Here we have, at least I've counted about 5 police vans, and others have left. To my right here, all lined up, you know, just to... I would say to be on standby in case there would be anything that would happen here. Not that we're expecting any, you know, but you can never tell. There was also a van from the Nigerian army that also came here, I think on surveillance, and then has eventually left. Now I'm looking back and I see that the trucks have reduced in number, but the officers are still here. Now, beyond that side, to my left as well, and that's further behind me, on the left-hand side, you probably would see again in a few seconds, just beyond the vehicular movement, you'll see that there still are some police vans still on that side of the road. I think it's just basically still for precautionary, you know, measures, just in case anyone comes here, tries protesting, tries to raise placards, or in case anybody tries to foment any kind of trouble. These officers, I believe, are on ground to ensure that nothing of such happens. And, well, it's the police. They can always call for reinforcements should there be need for that. We do not hope that that will happen anyway.
Now, Bernard, I recall 5 years ago, that's half a decade, we were both on the grounds covering the incidents of NSAS, the protests, day after day, up until the ninth day. What's the significance of today's memorial, and do you have wind of any sort of gatherings or activities that might happen at the Lekki toll gate?
Well, to start with, first of all, I'd say no, I have no information of anything that would happen, whether a gathering, some kind of memorial activity, civil society groups or organizations that would want to stage a march past here or anything. I have none of such information. I also reached out to our correspondents across the nation, and apparently, but then, you know, we can, I mean, there could be a possibility that there could be gathering event as long as we can to see that we catch any of such activities should it happen. That's one. To answer your first question, well, NSAS Memorial, 5 years on, half a decade, like you did mention. Of course, it's different from what we saw, you know, back then. For days, you know, day in, day out, this particular vicinity was packed full with people, particularly youths, who were chanting songs of solidarity. There were speakers here, where there were DJs blasting music, and basically it was not just for police brutality. It was for a number of things. And if you remember, they brought out a 5-point agenda that I'd like to read out, just to remind us all, and to remind Nigerians, the actual reason why these young Nigerians came out protesting, you know, concerning the whole NSAS issue. Now, when everything was ongoing, remember that the 5 points they came out with were: 1, the immediate release of all arrested protesters; secondly, justice for all deceased victims of police brutality and the appropriate compensation for their families. Number 3 was setting up an independent body to oversee the investigations and prosecution of all reported police misconduct within a period of 10 days. Number 4 was carrying out psychological evaluation and retaining of all disbanded SAS operatives before they can be deployed, and that this should be verified by an independent body. And the final point that was put out by this group was that the government should increase police salaries and that they should be adequately compensated for protecting lives and property of all citizens of Nigeria. Now, I think the question we should be asking on a day like this, 5 years on, is even if, you know, the authorities are saying, you know, we should forget what happened, move on, there should be peace. These 5 points, which actually were key to the protest 5 years ago, I beg your pardon, have any of them been met? Is the police doing better? Have there been reforms? SARS has been disbanded, yes, but other arms of the police, is there still police brutality going on? You know, have people been actually compensated? We remember that there was a judicial panel that was set up. What was the result of that panel? We remember that there was a result, but were people adequately compensated? You know, there's still some families that claim that some of their loved ones remain missing between then and up until now. There are people who cannot come out to openly say what may have happened. Some people fled the country, as we remember. So basically, I think these are the points that Nigerians should dwell on. The violence that happened here on that day 5 years ago is something that has been embedded into the history of Nigeria, particularly for the youth. We would never forget that. But then again, moving forward, have things actually changed? Has police brutality ended or reduced? Not just in Lagos, but across the country. I think these are the, the serious questions that should be asked.
Very, very well put, Bernard. Thank you very much for highlighting these asks, where we were then and where we are now. I wanted to ask you how today differs from last year, because I know that last year, if I recall correctly, there were tear gas canisters that were being shot at protesters, or planned protesters, I don't know. I want you to sort of run us through what happened at the Lekki toll gate on October 20th, 2024. And then my final question would be where we stand regarding protests, especially seeing as today there's another protest scheduled to happen, this time not kicking against NSAS, but freeing Nnamdi Kanu. And you have covered majority of the biggest protests that have happened in this country. So where you would analyze, how you would analyze where we are as a people regarding the right to freely protest. So it's a two-part question.
All right, taking your first question, Olive, from last year, I remember we were here as well, just as we are now. The day started quietly like this, and then, as day went on, the build-up, kind of grew, and then some protesters, I would like to call them, who actually came here with placards, were accosted by the police. As they were coming, the police was speaking to them just to ensure that nothing, that no one built up any kind of momentum. We also had a conversation with the police on ground that time, and they said that the presence, first of all, of journalists was attracting protesters, one, and that they didn't want the protesters to gather because, a pocket of protesters will eventually lead to more people coming to join. That's one. And they also talked about, which they keep saying every time, that there's a possibility that the protest could be hijacked by onlookers. Well, first, I'd like to say that, as we always put to the police, that's the responsibility of the police to ensure that peaceful protest, which is the right of the citizens anyway, doesn't get hijacked by unscrupulous elements, as they like to call them. So comparing last year to this year, I mean, it all started this way before eventually it built up. We're here for it, as we always are. But we do hope that there will be no violence. And also, to corroborate what you did say, it got to a point where some of the protesters who tried to block traffic as it was flowing had to be dispersed forcefully via deployment of canisters of tear gas by the police force. And that's something we get to see pretty much all the time. Moving forward to protests generally. Go ahead, Ben.
No, go ahead. That's the second part I wanted you to answer. Where we are
so the
regarding
second part
protests generally.
yes. So where we are now concerning protests, I would say, I would give some kudos to the Lagos State Police Command, to be honest. There's been some kind of relationship between the press and the police in Lagos, such that we have some kind of understanding, particularly about the new commissioner of police. That's the CP Olonda, I believe is his name, CP Jimo, I beg your pardon, Moshood Jimo, who is quite close to the press and always willing to speak. However, there still are, a handful of police officers who sometimes can get trigger happy or can get overzealous, if you want to put it that way, and that's where the problem comes in. Also, I'd like to say that there's a difference between protesters, peaceful protesters, and people who try to take advantage of situations like that, where the protesters can conduct themselves in an orderly fashion, and then others come in to disrupt activities. But then again, that's where I would say that the police have the duty to separate the wheat from the chaff, and ensure that the protesters are protected and that people who are violent are being taken care of. Going out of Lagos, finally, to wrap up the question, I think that more needs to be done, and this is speaking generally now concerning the Nigerian police. More needs to be done, first of all, and still these are some things that the NSAS protesters 5 years ago clamored for. I think proper enlightenment of police officers. I think more collaboration between police and media operatives. I also think generally that the police should be more open to criticism and to protest, which are the rights of the people. The police should not be quick to heavy-handedness or should not be too quick to the use of force you know, in responding to protests as regards dialogue. I believe we can get there. I believe we will get there. Hopefully, I hope that we do. But protest is one thing that will not end anytime soon, because it is the rights of the people.
Absolutely.
Particularly when they are oppressed. And of course, security from the police and other security operatives as well is something that will never end, because it is also the right of the people to be protected.
Thank you so much, Bernard Akede, for bringing us up to speed with the situation at the Lekki toll gate. And like Olive said, you've been through a lot of protests, and you've had your own fair share of tear gas canister inhalation. Hopefully, we won't have any of such incidents today. And just to say, on a lighter note, when you're done with this broadcast, look at your phone. I have pictures from 5 years ago that I shared with you. Great memories of us on the field. You are now on the field, I'm in the AC. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you, Bernard, for speaking with us. We'll connect with you again. Now, still talking about protests. Today, the 20th of October, is the D-Day. A long-standing face-off escalates between human rights activist Mobilisation, the Nigerian police force, and the Nigerian government over a planned nationwide protest tagged Free Nnamdi Kanu, as human rights activist Mobilisation vowed to defy a federal high court order that restricts protests in key areas of Abuja. This comes ahead of the planned #Free Nnamdi Kanu demonstration scheduled for today, Monday, the 20th of October, 2025. The Nigerian police have issued warnings, citing security concerns, and urging protesters to avoid sensitive government zones.
The protest scheduled for Monday, October the 20th, 2025, seeks the release of IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu, who has been in custody since his 2021 extradition from Kenya and faces terrorism charges. In an ex-post, the African Action Congress presidential candidate for the 2023 election stated that his legal team of 115 lawyers would challenge any alleged court order once served, maintaining that the protest would hold as planned and would remain peaceful, lawful, and orderly. He says, and I quote, "Our legal team will challenge any alleged court order the moment we're served on Monday. But let it be known that nothing can stop this mass movement." Now, join us this morning for this discussion is legal practitioner Douglas Ogbankwa. Mr. Ogbankwa, very good morning to you, and thanks for joining us for Breakfast Central.
The Federal High Court order, it would seem, has forbidden the protest around Aso Rock National Assembly and certain strategic locations. But there have been an insistence on the part of Chowore and his fellow protesters that this will still go on. From a legal standpoint, is this defiance, a breach of law, or a constitutional assertion?
Seem to be having
we're having a network connection, a network issue with him.
I think let's take this sort. Let's get to listen to what Chowore was saying, and hopefully when we get back, we'll be able to connect with Mr. Ogbankwa once again.
And we want to also clarify that there is no court order issued against the protests. Of course, the police, in their anxiety and desperation, went to Federal High Court judge on Friday and asked them to stop us from visiting certain areas. In fact, they initially wanted to ask the judge to stop, but the judge vehemently denied that he cannot ask the Nigerians not to protest, exercise their fundamental human right. So they granted a limited order. And the judge, in his number 3 order, said they must serve the defendants. They must serve the defendants by Friday. We have not been served. I only got to hear about the order through another person. And the order has lapsed because, as an ex parte order, service is the only thing that can activate an ex parte order. That has not been served. So we are going ahead tomorrow, and we will march peacefully, powerfully, and legally on the streets of Abuja. And anywhere you might be, our own position is that this must be completely peaceful protest. And we hope that at the end of the protest, common sense will prevail and will bring Mr. Nnamdi Kanu home. Here is the truth, and what they don't want you to know is that the Court of Appeal cleared Mr. Kanu in 2022, and discharged and acquitted him. That's the final. Yet the DSS, even upon this discharge and acquittal, never released him even for a second, in disobedience of the Court of Appeal position. It was pure.
Yeah, that was Omoyele Sowore speaking yesterday ahead of the planned protest today. But let's go back to our guest, legal practitioner Douglas Ogbankwa. Olive did ask a question about the Federal High Court order, which actually bars protests around areas that were mentioned. Aso Rock was mentioned, the Court of Appeal, Eagle Square, Shehu Shagari Way, not forgetting to the Villa and the likes.
And just to add to that, Sowore has claimed that this purported, this court order.
Can you hear us? Sorry.
Mr. Ogbankwa, can you hear?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. I said just to add to what my colleague has said earlier. While there is...
To answer your question...
Yes, just to also add, I wanted to add to give a bit of context. I wanted to add that Mr. Sowore has said that this court order was gotten in chambers.
Right to protest. The right to protest is as provided for by the Constitution and of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended by the 5th alteration. In order for us to situate this matter properly, I would refer copiously to the Constitution itself. Every citizen of Nigeria has a right to peaceful assembly. If I may quote section 40 of the Constitution, every person shall be entitled to assemble freely and associate with other persons, and in particular, he may form or belong to any political party, trade union, or any other association for the protection of his interests. So, Omoyele Sowore and his people, they have a right, according to the Constitution, to protest. That right is donated by the Constitution, and the right is an inviolable right. Now, if we were to look at the issues the way they are, it is important for us to recognize that the agitation for the release of Nnamdi Kanu, to look at it from the whole gamut of the issues that happen in Nigeria, that agitation is actually one that should be commended, because Nnamdi Kanu is being held, despite the fact that a lot of criminals have been recently released, including kidnappers, alleged drug peddlers, and all that. And of all the agitators in Nigeria, of all the regions in Nigeria, it is only Nnamdi Kanu of the Southeast that is still being held. We saw in the news at that time when bandits showed up to a meeting with government officials carrying cartridges. Now I wonder why this Nigerian police is not going to get an order to get those guns seized or stop those people from doing what they are doing. As I talk to you, those people, they've not been arrested, they have not been charged. So is it that in this country we have one country and two laws? We have seen on the television where some militants in the Niger Delta will brandish AK-47 threatening citizens. They've not been arrested. They've not been charged. So the question to ask is, how come Nnamdi Kanu's own is different? And why is it that the Nigerian government has a penchant for being hard on soft targets and being soft on hard targets? It doesn't appear that in Nigeria, being right makes you a terrorist, and being a terrorist makes you right.
All right, just to, mention a quick update that we have here. We're seeing here that the police team have, according to Omoyele Sowore, he says the police team deployed to brutalize free Nnamdi Kanu now protesters, arrested Nnamdi Kanu's brother and his lawyer, Aloy Ejimako, as well as innocent bystanders. They were beaten and taken to the FCT command. The police must release them immediately. How do you respond to that?
I didn't get your question correctly. Please, could you ask the question again?
I was reading a tweet that Omoyele Sowore had put out, a latest update regarding the protest. And in the tweet, he said that the police team deployed to brutalize the free Nnamdi Kanu protesters have not only arrested Nnamdi Kanu's brother, they've arrested his lawyer, Aloy Ejimako, as well as some innocent bystanders. He says that they were beaten and taken to the FCT command, and he says the police must release them immediately. And I wanted to get your response to that.
That That information is not available to me, and I may not be able to comment on it.
That's a tweet.
That it is not verified.
Just to mention.
If it is true, it is actually a bad day for Nigerian democracy. Because it is very clear that the thing that makes democracy very interesting, and it's good for government to understand this, agitations are natural concomitants of democracy. When people agitate for their interest, it is part of democracy. It's not just elections. They should not just see that democracy is about doing elections. Citizens have a right to ask questions. They have a right to demand, to make demands, and to ask that persons like Nnamdi Kanu, who have been arrested, and the Nigerians need to know this. Nnamdi Kanu was brought to this country, he was kidnapped.
Are you there, Mr. Okpara? Are you there? All right, we seem to have a little connectivity challenges there with our guest who's joined us to talk about the ongoing protest which has started. But we do have an update from the X account of 2023 presidential candidate and the African Action Congress person who is Mobilisation, who has put out a tweet to state clearly that the brother of Nnamdi Kanu has been arrested by the police, and a few persons who did come out to join the protest have equally been apprehended. Well, don't forget that today marks October 20, 2022, and we're indeed discussing major issues, which is what to do. 2025, I beg your pardon. We're talking about 2022, which is the NSAS.
No, that was 2020.
I beg your pardon, my goodness.
And then the 2023 presidential
candidate is also using the same date to also engage in a protest, which is hashtag free.
Olive said something quite...
It's a whole lot.
Olive said something quite instructive during our conversation with Bernard Akede, saying that the NSAS protest in 2020 has changed the face of protest in Nigeria forever. So I can see the link between NSAS and this Nnamdi Kanu protest. And Nigerian security forces and operatives have become very jittery of protests since NSAS, following the destruction, the widespread destruction and looting of properties in Lagos that we witnessed in the aftermath of the NSAS protest. But that's not the, that was as a result of breakdown of law and order on the part of security officials who should have stationed manpower in certain critical areas where they knew had a propensity to violence. But they have turned this around and used it as a sort of subtle blackmail and to gaslight Nigerians into not protesting at all, always making by making reference to, didn't you see what happened in Lagos in 2020? And I don't think it's the way to go. Yes, because your constitution guarantees you the right to peaceful, free and peaceful protest.
Right. Anyway, we will take more comments about this. Of course, we will, when we come back from this break, head to YouTube as well to get some of your comments. So if you'd like to make a comment regarding the protest, the Free Nnamdi Kanu protest, now will be a great time. We'll go on a quick break, and when we return, Breakfast Central continues.
You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has released its latest regional economic outlook, and Nigeria, Africa's largest economy, is not on the list of the continent's fastest growing economies. According to the IMF, countries like the Republic of Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, Ethiopia, Rwanda, and Uganda are now leading Africa's growth trajectory.
These nations are projected to grow between 6% and 11% in 2025, while Nigeria lags behind at just 3.3%. The IMF attributes this growth to sustained policy reforms, improved fiscal management, and investments in infrastructure and manufacturing. So the question is, what's holding Nigeria back? I do recall, and I'm sure that you too can recall, that just a few years ago, Nigeria was touted as the giant of Africa economically and otherwise. Well, joining us for this discussion is investment banker and public affairs analyst Nnamdi Kanu. He joins me this morning. Good morning. All right, I believe you can hear us. Well, let's go straight into it.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Good. The figures we just reeled out doesn't look too impressive or doesn't look too hopeful. What do you think is taking Nigeria aback, especially at this moment?
To be honest with you, 3.4% GDP growth for 2025 is actually an improvement from what we have seen since 2015. Basically, it is driven, like you saw the report clearly stated, by higher oil output and stability within the oil and gas sector. Because you notice that over the last 1 year, we've had oil output steady at the level of about 1.5, 1.6, 1.65 barrels a day, unlike in the before 2023, when we were having output at a level of about 1 billion barrels or less. You may recall in 2021, I think on Arise TV, one of their morning shows, where the former GMD of NNPC clearly stated, how they've been losing over $22 billion worth of oil resources to thieves and inefficiencies. Now, that is not to say that we have a lot of headrooms to improve upon. Like I've always said it, out of the 1,200 MDAs at the federal level, it's only about 3 parastatals that are actually doing so well. The great works that Jide Ojo is doing at the CBN, to a large extent has actually helped to stabilize FX window. Before he came, we used to have multiple exchange rate regime where we had an arbitrage gap of about 300 naira to $1 that allowed a lot of round tripping and criminal money laundering to happen in the system. He was able to purge the system. Now, nobody can easily secure $15 million allocation and then round trip and sell it in the black market. That is stability. And the guy at the NUPROC, Komala, is doing a lot of job. You can see clearly that it's actually oil output that is driving this, which does not actually affect, does not allow all-inclusive growth. Because for us to achieve all-inclusive growth and get to the level that we used to be, about 8% per annum, we need to do a lot of work on the fiscal side. The governor, the local government chairman, and all the other operatives within the MDAs in Abuja. Komalafa is doing a lot of good work with that. Then Ojulari is doing his best to see how he can stop the bazaar and criminality at the NNPC. Time will not allow me to unpack things they need to do more on that sector to ensure that we achieve at least average of 5% growth on GDP. But the key thing here is that if we actually want to ramp up GDP growth in Nigeria to 7-10% per annum, which we can easily do, to do a lot of work on the fiscal side. Apart from the reforms, we need to stop fiscal profligacy and criminality. Over 60% of whatever imported in Nigeria are actually looted. We remember our local the EFC chairman said that between 2020 to 2022, over 2.3 trillion naira were stolen from the federal budget alone through over-invoicing and other criminal activities. We need to reduce the cost of governance in Nigeria drastically, and it will require us implementing the Orasaya report on fiscal discipline and within the governance space. So I think so far we have something going for us. We have FX stability. Any investor coming into Nigeria will at least have a clear sight of how much he's bringing in and how much he can take out. Because of that, then we will need to do a lot of work in ensuring that we de-risk investments and allow investors to be able to come in. Insecurity is still on the high. People still in IDP camps, 310,000 people still in refugee camps in Chad, Niger, and Cameroon. A lot of work needs to be done on the physical side. If we're able to tackle insecurity, if we're able to ramp up productivity on the non-oil side, where we can be able to generate revenues of at least $250 to $300 billion annually from the agri sector, we can actually reduce the NPR rate from the current 27% level to the single digits, which will catalyze productivity, within the real sector of the economy. A lot of work needs to be done, but these works are mainly on the physical side. The governors, local government chairmen, and most of the guys that sit in Bola Tinubu's cabinet at the FEC.
All right, you've spoken about the work that needs to be done, the areas in which we need to cut expenses, and the transparency that needs to be evident to all. But what about the reputational importance of being on the list of the IMF's fastest rising economies? How important is that?
It's very, very important. Like I said to you, Olive, Nigeria has the potential to even grow at 15% per annum.
Remember that President Tinubu touted the vision of the government to build up a $1 trillion economy within the next 5 years. For you, currently Nigeria's GDP is at about $243 billion. That is really based from the actual level of about $183 billion. For us to grow from the current $243 billion to $1 trillion, we need to grow up the GDP at an average, cumulative average growth rate of about 20% per annum. And we can do it. I sit here in my corner here, and I can show you clearly, sector by sector, what we need to do to build up this economy. And the truth is that those in Abuja, those in the states, those at the local government level, they know this truth. But for them to muster the discipline, for them to muster the courage, for them to muster the strength, to do the right thing, is what is lacking. You know, like I always say to anybody who cares listening, the DNA of the average Nigerian politician, 99% of them is actually programmed only to loot, to steal, and to share. Most of them, their minds and their brains are not wired to think like Maxwell Okpara, to think like Desmond Bakwe, to think like defied or the mind of the current political actors across the 3 tiers and arms of government are actually wired just to steal, to loot, and to devour. And that is the problem. So, since we know clearly that in their DNA, no, we can't stop them from stealing. Why not just us, just like what India and the South Korea did? Allow them 2 years amnesty. Whatever you steal, bring it back. Do you know that over $500 billion have been stolen and looted out of this country since 1999? That is why some of them are buying houses in Florida with the name of their wife and children. Some are buying in Potomac. Some are buying in Maryland. Go to the over $18 worth of properties are owned by Nigerians, mostly from looted funds out of this country. Give them amnesty. Let them bring back this investment. If some of them are too bereft of ideas of what to do, we can volunteer to Bono to show them clearly what they can do sector by sector to put back their money here, to ensure that we build up this economy and grow it at the level of 20% per annum GDP growth rate. And the truth is also, we can actually fix this insecurity in Nigeria within the next 6 months, if we are sincere. The governor of Zamfara State, that even stated it, he said if we have the political will between Abuja and the state, in 2 weeks, they will destroy all the bandits, destroy them. Because they know where they are, they know who they are. They even sometimes call them to table for amnesty discussions. So what are we talking about here? Nigeria is the right place. We have all the factors of production, the land, both surface land and inside the land, the human capital, over 200 million 5 years of age. We have the financial capacity. We can actually generate over $100 billion investment capital into this economy. But we need to do the right things. Put in place the physical and cultural amendments that allow this country to breathe.
Now, Dr. Obere, I understand you have to go, but if you could just squeeze this in 60 seconds, I would really appreciate. The Nigerian government has a bold and audacious plan of growing its economy to a $1 trillion economy by 2030. Is this realizable, or should we just focus on getting people out of poverty? Because as it speaks, it's more than 140 million Nigerians that are currently living in poverty.
Nigeria can actually grow our GDP to $1 trillion by 2030. Very, very easiest thing. And how do we remove the over 140 million Nigerians out of poverty, driving growth in the economy? Like I mentioned to you, the lowest hanging fruit is the agricultural sector. And most of this responsibility falls within the purview of the local government chairman and the governors. All I expect the federal government of Nigeria to do is to put in place it. I tell you today, to be able to build up an economy that removes 140 million people out of poverty within the next 5 years, we need to first of all mechanize and tech agriculture. We need 2 million to 3 million smart farmhouses across Nigeria. We need 2 to 3 million tractors, bulldozers, and all agro equipment and implements. We need 25,000 storage centers and storage trucks that can move goods. We need to fix insecurity. And I tell you the truth, we need to set up 2,500 agro-industrial parks. Each of them will be seated with about $6 million. $15 billion will do this. In the next 1 year, I didn't tell you the next 10 years. Next 1 year, we will create over 30 to 40 million direct jobs that will generate for each of them nothing less than $500 monthly income. We will build up an economy that the whole world will wonder what we did. that we need to tackle. And let me tell you, we've developed templates, we've shared with these governments without missing word how we can do these things, when we can do it, what is required to do it. They want to go and borrow $21 billion. What are they going to do with it? It is not tied on anything. If they hand over $21 billion to me and they ask me to help them supervise how it's executed, I tell you of the truth. In the next 5 years, we will not just have a $1 trillion economy. We will have an economy that removes over 60% of those within the extreme poverty level out of poverty. And these things are no rocket science. But for it to happen, we must have to restructure the whole constitutional, fiscal, and governance architecture of Nigeria to what it should be, and you will see this country fly. And the most unfortunate thing is that 99% of those who purport to lead us across the 3 tiers and arms of government do not even understand what we're talking about.
Right. Mr. Nnamdi, thank you so much for shedding light on this particular topic. Let's get to see what will happen. Maybe in the next release, Nigeria will actually feature. But we look forward to talk to you again. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Let's move on now to our next story. Tell you that thousands of Kenyans and dignitaries from across Africa gathered on Sunday for the interment of a man described as a selfless Pan-Africanist, Raila Odinga. Among those in attendance were Kenya's President William Ruto, Kenya's former President Uhuru Kenyatta, and Nigeria's former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Odinga, 80, died from a suspected heart attack at a health clinic in southern India on Wednesday. His body was received by thousands of mourners in Nairobi on Thursday. News Central's Bongani Siziba has more.
From the skies above, the crowds below, the atmosphere was heavy with emotions. Chants rose and tears fell. Bondo Village, Odinga's hometown, stood still, not just to mourn a man, but to celebrate a legacy that many say will never fade.
When he was away, either in detention or in exile, I knew he would always come back. This time, I'll have to join him wherever he has gone, because he'll never come back. But the spirit lives on.
Nicknamed Ogwambo, the mysterious one, his death united thousands, honoring him with a 17-gun salute as he was laid to rest beside his father, the legendary Jaramogi Odinga, and his mother, Mary Ajuma.
We shall miss you. Jacob, we shall miss you. We shall miss you as a friend, a brother, and a leader of this nation. We shall miss your insights. We shall miss your thoughtfulness. We shall miss your wisdom. And we shall miss your laughter.
Speaking at the state funeral service, President Ruto described the last 1.5 months as very tough, recalling how Odinga had grown weaker in their final meetings.
The nation of Kenya today is flowing with floods of tears of grief. The foundations of Kenya are shaken by the stomping footsteps of mourners, and the soul of our nation is aching because of the loss of a great hero of our nation.
Affectionately known as Baba, a pro-democracy champion who also served as Prime Minister from 2008 to 2013. Although he never succeeded in winning the presidency, despite 5 attempts, he played a central role in returning the country to multi-party democracy in the 1990s and is credited as the main force behind a widely praised constitution passed in 2010.
For me, I've lost a brother, I've lost a friend, I've lost a confidant, I've lost a co-worker in the vineyard of Africa.
Odinga's death leaves a leadership vacuum in the opposition, with no obvious successor as Kenya heads into a potential volatile election in 2027. For News Central, Wongani Siziba.
Memories definitely made, and memories will definitely be kept. Well, thank you so much, Bongani Siziba, for covering that. Let's move away now to our next story here on Breakfast Central as we take a look at what definitely happened, especially over the weekend. The APC did have a meeting. Yes, they did. Well, the All Progressives Congress in Kogi State formally endorsed President Bola Tinubu, Governor Usman Ododo, for a second term. At a rally in Lokoja, the state capital, key party leaders reaffirmed their support for the renewed hope agenda ahead of the 2027 elections. Mana Balagbobo reports.
Thank you. On Saturday, party stakeholders gathered at the Muhammadu Buhari Civic Center in Lokoja to endorse President Tinubu and Governor Ododo for a second term. Former Governor Yaya Bello led the endorsement, expressing confidence that no opposition can unseat the president in 2027.
We are telling you today, Mr. President, that don't do any wahala, that you want to come to Kogi State to campaign for your second term. No opposition in Kogi State. Those in favor that Governor Ahmed Usman Ododo, the chief servant of Kogi State, should run for his second term in 2027 and be sworn in on 27th of January 2028. Raise up your hand and say aye.
Governor Usman Ododo thanked President Bola Tinubu for his support for the state.
We thank Mr. President for laying a solid foundation upon which my leader, my mentor, have come and replicated here in Kogi State. I cannot thank him enough. And of course, Kogi State is growing. Kogi State is moving forward.
Joining them, the former APC women leader and federal lawmaker representing Ida Federal Constituency also voiced support for Tinubu and Ododo's leadership.
You know, sometimes people will say, okay, what has he done and all that. But there's no way the president will leave out any state. Even those that are not APC, he's working there. A lot is going on there.
The antecedent of our own president, Ahmed Tinubu, endorsing him for the second time is a privilege.
Smart Adeyemi, a former lawmaker and chairman of the rally committee, criticized the opposition, highlighting readiness for the next election.
Who is Atiku Abubakar? He was vice president before, and he equally presided over privatization. All those who sold our properties, national assets, Ajakuta Iron and Steel was sold for a meager sum of what is less than the goods already produced by Iron and Steel Complex. So Obi is not a Democrat in first instance, but he lied.
The rally concluded with a motion moved by former Governor Bello and seconded by Smart Adeyemi, endorsing the APC flag bearers for the 2027 polls. In Lokoja for News Central, Morno Balagbubu.
Still looking at Lokoja, farmers in Lokoja 2 constituency of Kogi State are appealing for state support to recover losses from the last farming season. They made this appeal during a visit to the state governor Ahmed Ododo at the government house in Lokoja, while also appealing to the government to intervene and help provide cheaper farm inputs for farming. Still brought to you by Mana Balagbobo.
Speaker of the Kogi State House of Assembly, Aliyu Yusuf, thanked the governor for previous interventions that restored security and provided soft loans to farmers. He called for renewed assistance to those who lost investments following the crash in produce prices and irregular rainfall.
But we are here because of this individual who invested in our farmers and make the farming to succeed last year. So that we'll plead through the governor to talk to them, because we understand that those who have taken last year, they lost in their farming, in the business.
Governor Usman Ododo commended the farmers for their role in ensuring food security and pledged continued government backing. He directed the Speaker to profile Lokoja 2 farmers for a no-interest loan to support dry season farming. The governor also promised to build rural roads to reduce post-harvest losses and promised that the state will offtake farm produce to stabilize incomes. Speaking to farmers, Abdurrahman Dangana described the governor as humble and responsive while appealing for lower prices of farm inputs ahead of the dry season.
All the farm inputs in terms of chemical and so on and so forth, want to plead to Your Excellency to take this message to big back President Bola Tinubu to do all he can to make sure that farm equipment chemicals are brought to the barest minimum so that the farmers can enjoy their farming.
The farmers say that with steady government support, they hope to recover from last season's setbacks and strengthen food production across Kogi State. In Lokoja, the News Central, Morno Balagbubu.
Democratic Party, PDP, is once again in the headlines, this time not for policy or progress, but for a deepening crisis that threatens its upcoming national convention. Senator Samuel Anyanwu, the PDP's national secretary, has petitioned the DSS, the Inspector General of Police, IGP, and INEC, alleging that his signature was forged on a letter sent to INEC regarding the November 15th to 16th convention in Ibadan.
The new claim had sent concerns through the party, raising questions about issues of internal sabotage, factional power plays, and the integrity of the PDP's leadership structure ahead of the party's proposed convention. Join us this morning is the National Deputy Youth Leader of the People's Democratic Party, Honorable Timothy Osadolo. Thank you so much, Honorable Osadolo, for joining us this morning.
Thank you, my brother. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Senator Anyanwu claims his signature was forged on a letter to INEC as a senior party official. How seriously is the PDP taking this allegation, and what do you make of it?
Ordinarily, in any circumstances, the allegations of forgery are very weighty allegations. Ordinarily, these are not issues one should treat or look at with kid gloves or with a passing glance. But we are in a political climb, and not just in a political climb wherein war, so to speak, is currently ongoing. And in war, outside the UN conventions that regulate war and how it's conducted, the maxim that all is fair in war still persists and still reigns supreme in the hearts of those engaging in it. So for me, I would not want any of us to get this misconception that this is unrelated to politics, or this is not politics at play in the Nigerian system or the Nigerian way. But what is more pressing and more important is the underlying fact that there are issues between seemingly heavyweights and seemingly very senior members and amongst the leadership of the party. That's my take on it.
All right, Mr. Osadolo, what could have warranted a forgery of the National Secretary's signature? I mean, does it mean that he was not in support of the November event? Or why? Why all of a sudden he's coming out to say there was a forgery of his signature? And what does that also tell about the PDP's agreement to actually have this convention?
Well, I will not want us to go about it to the L finality. It is allegedly that there was a forgery. Good enough. Letters have been written to relevant institutions calling for investigations. But I also want to continue from how I started. We're in a political climate, and this is politics. Ordinarily, these are very, very weighty accusations. Again, the caliber and the pedigree of the man or the persons alleged to have done this forgery does not speak. It does not do justice to their character, given their track records where no such issues have been found. So I would not want to dwell on issues that, for now, yes, can be very topical, but the overall aim is to highlight a point, which is that there's a system failure or that there's a challenge within the system that needs to be fixed. So for me, I'm not particularly pleased about this allegation of forgery. The very respected gentleman who wrote that letter, I don't know how that letter came about or the mindset from which it came from. And it's not a man I want to start throwing shades at. But I also believe that in his heart, he means well in his own way. It may not be the best way currently. But I also believe that there are better ways to go about this issue than all of these missiles that does no one any good. But again, I also want to believe and emphasize that that letter is in line of the current political equation on ground.
Mr. Osadolo, if you can help us speak up, we're struggling to hear you. But just to clarify, what's the PDP's position, the official position of the PDP regarding this national convention scheduled to hold in November?
The PDP is resolute, very resolute, and committed to holding this convention in November. However, in as much as I commit myself to this convention holding, I am not blind or deaf to the concerns being raised by some of our brothers, particularly around the issues of the Ebonyi State ESCO and the Southeast Zonal Congress that they want addressed. So for me, I believe those concerns from our stakeholders in that zone should be addressed. But I believe that everybody who prides him or herself with the brand name of the PDP and the umbrella should do everything within our powers to commit to the PDP's goal of holding the National Convention in Ibadan come November 15th and 16th. The PDP is determined to hold this convention, and I'm not seeing anything, no matter the spinal works, that will come from the villa or from any other angle. The PDP will have a very successful convention.
All right. Mr. Osadolo, would like to beg that you please spare us some time in this conversation regarding the PDP, as we'd like to quickly switch gears to join our correspondent who is live in Abuja. He's on ground at the ongoing hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu protest, which coincidentally also falls under the hashtag EndSARS Memorial. We do have Sergey Ibrahim. We also do hear that there is heavy traffic around Dutse Alaji near Kubwa, Abuja, as police mount a major checkpoint at the Sokale roundabout, and it's causing heavy traffic. Also, to quickly mention, the road is a major road which connects not just residents in Buhari Area Council to the city center, but also travelers from Kaduna and other northwest states due to the ongoing repairs on the Zuba axis of the Abuja-Kaduna road. The footage you can see there on the screen is footage of the ongoing hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu protest, which is currently on, and you can see people tripping out to support the movement. But before then, we did hear from Nnamdi Kanu. But now let's listen to our correspondent who is there live as well. Sergey, I'm sure you can hear us. I'm aware that network might be very tricky at this moment because of the glitches. But can you share with us where you are and what the walk has been all about?
Good morning to everyone in the studio. While at the moment we are at Fiscal, very close to the Jabi Park. This park is a major park that carries individuals traveling from the north, down south, and even to the east. At the moment, like I mentioned, this is John Jerry. Is somewhere within the crowd, and of course, talking within my other members of who are comrades as well, who are demanding for Nnamdi Kanu to be free. Moment and moment, there's been court orders demanding that Nnamdi Kanu be free, the IPOB leader, the indigenous people of the IPOB leader. But then, unfortunately, it was not free, and this time they are saying they will accept nothing less than the freedom of Nnamdi Kanu. They made several attempts to reach the presidential villa of study. They were discussed somewhere around the summer, but then here they are on the street, trying to gather momentum by calling on those who are here in the park, who are also pushing very, very, very sentimentally about the situation, to come out as well and join them in this solidarity march to demand for the freedom of the IPOB leader, Nnamdi Kanu. That's in the studio.
The demands are on, and everyone seems to be out. What's the traffic situation really like? If you can hear us again, tell us quickly what the traffic situation really is like, and can you tell us if the man himself, Shore, is with the people, or you have them spread across different parts of the Federal Capital Territory? Well, we seem to have a frozen picture. All right, good.
Getting to the city center. So from the fringes of Abuja, like around the major cities that connect to Abuja, talk about the Nyanya axis, talk about the Kubwa axis, talk about the Zogalada axis. I understand that there's a major checkpoint mounted on those areas. Of course, if you check vehicles, but people are relating it to today's event, saying that it's just an effort to slow down movement of individuals into the city center. It was really a Chilean task coming into town. I sent video, some footage of that, with major police checkpoints across major connecting points into Abuja. So that's been that. Now, getting into the city center after passing all of this, another task there, because major entry points into the federal secretariat were also blocked. I understand that there is a major checkpoint around also the DSS area that connects Mandela Barracks Bridge with that area into the federal secretariat. So it's been really, really difficult moving around and within the city.
Okay.
Guys, I need to go and prepare to look.
Sergey, thank you for bringing us the updates regarding the protest. We hope to reconnect with you. We know that the protest is still ongoing. Just to quickly check, I don't know if you have information about the people who were arrested. We hear that Nnamdi Kanu's brother was arrested. According to Mobilisation, he tweeted on X that Nnamdi Kanu's brother, as well as his lawyer, Aloye Jimako, have been arrested, as well as some innocent protesters. Do you have any information regarding that?
We are hoping to get audiovisual confirmation of all of this from him today. But then we're hoping to get all of that in the meantime.
Okay, Sergey. Thank you so much. We'll reconnect with you and also reconnect with other correspondents who are on ground to ensure that we do have live updates and coverage of what's really happening out there in the Federal Capital Territory for the hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu walk. And also here in Lagos and other parts of the country, we're also looking at October 2020, which has got to do with the NSAS Memorial. In the meantime, while you join us, don't forget to go online. Feel free to drop a comment or two. We have more coming your way. Our conversations have been on the PDP fracas, which seems to be one conversation everyone is talking about. Earlier on, we had our guest who joined us. He is the People's Democratic Party, PDP Honorable Timothy Osadolo. He's the National Deputy Youth Leader for the PDP, and we talked about the recent happening, especially in the party. But I'm not sure he's still here with us, but if he is, we would have loved to quickly wrap up that conversation too before we move on to what's coming up next year on Breakfast Central. But then again, we look forward to continue with more conversations. Olive will bring to you breakfast headlines in a moment. Do well to stay with us.
I don't listen to everything you do. Today marks the 5th anniversary of the NSAS protest, a key moment in Nigeria's history of civic activism. 5 years ago, streets across the country echoed with chants against police brutality and systemic injustice as youth rose to demand an end to the notorious Special Anti-Robbery Squad SARS. While the movement sparked a wave of global attention and calls for reform, it also highlighted the delays and denials in justice, leaving many victims and families still waiting for accountability. From the viral videos that ignited the spark to the Lekki Toll Gate massacre, the struggle for change remains unfinished, with memories of martyrs and the call for a better future still reverberating today. In the meantime, a joint detachment of defense and security operatives have forcefully dispersed the Omoyele Sowore-led Free Nnamdi Kanu Now protesters in the Maitama area of Abuja. The rally, led by activist Omoyele Sowore and legal counsel barrister Aloy Ejimako, gathered outside the Nigerian Communications Commission headquarters on Monday today. In Maitama, demonstrators chanted, "Free Nnamdi Kanu now," calling for justice and urging authorities not to use force. Moments later, gunshots were heard, forcing the crowd to flee in panic. No injuries have been confirmed.
Nnamdi Kanu now. Sit. Kanu now. Nnamdi Kanu now. Let's go to Vega.
And now to education. As the federal government of Nigeria says, mathematics is now a compulsory subject for all students sitting for O-level examinations, contrary to its earlier position during the week. Earlier on Tuesday, in a press statement issued by Folashade Boriowo, spokesperson for the Federal Ministry of Education, she had announced that senior secondary school students in the arts and humanities will no longer be required to present a credit in mathematics in their senior school certificate exams for tertiary admissions. Boriowo had stated the reform became necessary after years of restricted access which denied many qualified candidates admission opportunities. This had generated controversy as some educationists rejected the policy shift, saying this would further encourage laziness among students and negatively impact their academic performance. Earlier, we were joined by the founder of Nigeria Teachers Community and also an education researcher, Peter Ogudoro, on this development, and here's what he had to say.
Students, in effect, is that they shouldn't bother about attending classes, when mathematics is what is to be taught. And that's what you have just told everyone. And even children in kindergarten classes are already aware of what we're discussing. And so even the policy somersault you're referring to is not really a policy somersault. Nothing has changed. The government is still insisting that you don't need a credit in mathematics if you're going to study an arts or humanities course. What they are only saying, by way of clarification, is that, well, until you finish secondary school, you still have to study mathematics, but you don't necessarily need a credit in it if what you're going to study has little or nothing to do with social sciences and the regular STEM courses. So I think that we are wrong there as a society, because we can't play at the level of STEM, science, engineering, technology, and competing effectively, especially our children, giving them access to global opportunities. If we don't compel them to learn mathematics, which teaches you discipline, teaches you patience, teaches you how to think analytically, teaches you logic, teaches you how to delay gratification.
To security matters, the Yoruba Council worldwide has again urged Southwest governors to prioritize security of the region and key into late Obafemi Awolowo's ideologies to return the region to its glory days. The founder and president of the group, Oladotun Hassan, made the call in a statement in Lagos, saying it had become imperative for governors of the region to face the issue of insecurity, and it must be adequately tackled headlong based on simultaneous strategic planning and synergy toward attaining a progressive regional development agenda plan. This comes following the bandit attacks ravaging parts of Kogi and Kwara that share borders with states in the southwest. Hassan equally said that the governors of the region needed to demonstrate passion in sustaining Yoruba aesthetic cultural heritage and values. And now to electoral matters. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has officially issued the notice of the Anambra State governorship election slated for November 8, 2025. INEC's public relations officer in Anambra, Ugoma Lechukwu, announced that voting will begin at 8:30 a.m. and end at 2:30 p.m. Polling will take place strictly at the centers where voters are registered. Only individuals with valid voters' cards and whose names are on the register will be eligible to vote. At least 16 candidates are expected to contest the election, including 2 female candidates among 14 males. The election notice was issued in line with provisions of the Electoral Act to ensure a transparent and credible poll across Anambra State. In the meantime, former Nigerian Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has been appointed by ECOWAS to lead its election observation mission for Côte d'Ivoire's upcoming presidential election, set for October 25th, 2025. The mission, which will run from October 19th to 29th, 2025, aims to ensure a peaceful and credible electoral process in line with the ECOWAS Supplementary Protocol on Democracy and Good Governance. As head of mission, Osinbajo will work with a team of prominent West African leaders to engage key stakeholders and collaborate with international and domestic observer groups. The deployment underscores ECOWAS' commitment to promoting democracy and stability across the region, as several West African nations gear up for important elections. In North Africa, young Moroccans protested Saturday in front of Parliament to demand the release of demonstrators arrested in recent weeks as part of Morocco's Gen Z movement seeking reforms to social services. The movement, which had taken the usually stable kingdom by surprise in late September, appeared to be losing momentum as fewer demonstrators have taken to the streets. Some 600 people, including minors, are currently detained pending trial on suspicion of joining the movement. Though a long-awaited speech by King Mohammed VI last week did not make mention of the movement, the monarch urged his government to improve public education and healthcare, which is, of course, the movement's initial demands. And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. We'll continue now with Breakfast Centrals. Please stay with us.
Welcome back. Let's go straight to the front pages of the papers. We do have with us public affairs analyst Mr. Theophilus Akatuba, who joins us on the Monday morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning.
I'm happy
Good morning. Good to have you.
There's no traffic in Lagos like what they have in Abuja.
Yeah.
You know, due to the ongoing hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu protest. We do hear that major areas are blocked due to security, put in place, the police, barricades, and so on. So we will also connect with our correspondent who will be joining us. Earlier on we spoke with Sergei Ibrahim. He was in between or inside during the match while they were walking, they were protesting. He was there with them just to cover what's really going on, and he shared a few things with us. But we'll go back and join another reporter who will join us pretty soon. But now, let's go to the front pages of the newspapers where you can be part of it. All you need to do is just call the number you'd find shortly on the screen. Our first paper this morning will be one and only, let's see, okay, yeah, pretty much. Let's go to Daily Trust. Let's start off with Daily Trust this morning. That'll be our first paper. Daily Trust has the following. PDP convention, Anyanwu alleges signature forgery, I beg your pardon. I don't know if you've been following that story as well. We just had a PDP member join us. Unfortunately, due to time, we couldn't take much of the interview. Protests in U.S. over Trump's policies. That's another one. How terrorists killed 6 soldiers in Borno ambush. Alleged coup plot. Ex-governor under watch. More officers picked. That's a story. And then we have Nnamdi Kanu protesters dare police. Like I said, that has started already. Journalists mourning their colleague killed in an Israeli strike in, that's near somewhere. I can't really see the write-up there, but that's the picture you have. Those are journalists. You can see one of them, the photojournalist, mourning their colleague who died due to one of the strikes. Ooh, we go through a lot as well. Now let's go straight to our very first story, Mr. Katuba. I'd like us to look at the PDP convention. I am alleging that there's a signature forgery.
The anatomy of the PDP still has all the canker worms and all the bacterial and the infections in there. If you know the battle that was fought for the PDP to surrender to allow Anyanwu, and you know that the Anyanwu man is in the wicked camp. So you should not be surprised at the direction of affairs. You know, all the governors that are leaving the party, they have analyzed it. The PDP, as it is currently, is too dangerous for any politicians to fly its ticket. Because you don't even know what and who you are dealing with. You know, your general secretary, now who has forged?
That's the question.
Who has forged, and to what end and for what purpose should anyone even forge? So who is being accused of the forgery? So you can see that even it's directed as a DSS. For me, I feel that if it's a forgery, it must have taken place in a location. You can start the matter from that point, from that place before you can escalate it. It's forgery of. So for me, this is just the continuation of the evidential, you know, sickness of the PDP. Even the party leaders who are leaving the party, they declare the party dead. That's scary. They're not even giving the party a chance of survival. You know, Ayo Fayose the other day was very loud. That is dead. Even those who are leaving it still continue to tell you and echo the same sentiments. And so, unfortunately, one big Nigerian political party that has ruled and governed Nigeria for 16 years, and one would have thought that such an institution should have been preserved and begin to play its role in national polity, is the party that is going in this direction and falling so miserably and so recklessly and quickly. I hope that those who are still in that party should be able to pack it together and give it the ability to participate in the next election.
Do you think, you hope, but do you genuinely think that they have all the facilities or it will take for them to package themselves?
Every day, they are hemorrhaging. Every day, people, they are losing everything that they need to use. But I hope so because it's good for the democratic, journey that we are traveling. I hope so because we have had many nations in the world. The political parties grow from strength to strength and remain relevant for many years. The kind of the failing of the PDPs is very discouraging and very disturbing. This is why any political system that thrives on money bags has no future. Any political system where the leadership is simply a one man that dictates what should be done, a political party should be able to set up itself in a manner that is robust enough to withstand being out of power and enjoy being in power.
All right.
Because this is the first time this party is out of power.
But one would think that just a few months ago, a certain strong political figure, former Senate President by name Bukola Saraki, was given the mandate or took the mantle to put the party together, meet with them, build a formidable force, and ensure that they come back to reckoning. However, I don't know if he's pulling his weight in ensuring that he can get the party together.
Well, the best way to judge a man's performance is result.
Yeah.
The result we are seeing is very clear that he doesn't even know what's going on in the party. For example, if PDP want to reconcile itself, you don't use people who had earlier left and came. Also, it was, first, morally speaking, it's not in a position to tell anyone not to leave the party. After all, you had left the same party before. They should look for those members who had remained, founders who have faith and believe in the party. There are a lot of them there who still believe till today that the party cannot go this way. And these kind of people are not given the opportunity. You are bringing Saraki, who had left before, and you are telling him to come and reconcile people who want to go to where he left to. We are on our way there.
Okay, I want us to get to another paper. Hopefully we can take all three papers. But just to mention to our audience, if you're watching, the numbers to call on your TV screen, we can take a few calls before we wrap up this segment. And also, if you would rather drop a comment on YouTube or streaming live, I can see some comments, and I'll take them before we wrap up this segment. Free Nnamdi Kanu protest on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. Police, NSCDC, ENCOs, warn Sowore others. Why we are protesting, Sowore explains. U.S. Embassy issues security threat. Oyebanji's migrations achievement FIME says, NDLEA intercepts U.S., UK, DRC-bound illicit drug consignments and frozen snails, electric bulbs. Wow, they're getting very creative. They've moved from packing it in like food packs. Now they're using frozen snails and electric bulbs. Ibadan Convention, PDP crisis takes new turn as Iron petitions DSS. Police, INEC alleges forgery. That's a story that Mr. Akatugba has just expanded on. Music could help ease pain from surgery illnesses, scientists say. Yep. Beer sector, operators, others panic over tax stamp system. Beer prices may go up. Stakeholders raise alarm as drug abuse increases among secondary school students in southwest states. And finally, Nigeria's manufacturing sector still struggling despite lowering inflation. 60% members in Northeast shut down operation in 2024. Why sector is shrinking according to MAN? Let's start with Free Nnamdi Kanu protest. I can see comments on YouTube. Felix Egbunine says Nnamdi Kanu for life. Okum Daniel Santos says, please, Nigeria should release Nnamdi Kanu. Yes, these are some of the comments we've seen regarding Nnamdi Kanu, but let's get your thoughts.
Yeah, first, it is within the right of Sowore and others to protest according to our constitution in section 40 of the 1999 Constitution is free, so long as your protest is peaceful and does not incite violence and does not disturb public peace. So if all these factors are met, Sowore is good to go to ask to make any protest and make demands. However, there is something about legality and security that sometimes do not really agree together. Because right now, we are facing a situation where there is a rumor of a coup, meaning that there is some rumor of political instability, possibility of it. And so the security agencies could be much more reactive and react in a manner that might not be pleasing because they're quite sensitive at this time. It's also important for Sowore to know that Nnamdi Kanu is the leader of IPOB. And IPOB is an organization that the Nigerian government have already designated as a terrorist organization. Yeah, and also, if you are calling for his release, it will look like you're having sympathy for an organization that is terrorist and an individual that led that organization.
And do you criticize that?
No, I'm not. I'm speaking about what the government, how government view protests like this. Nnamdi Kanu is not arbitrarily being detained. He's facing active judicial process. That means this trial is active, it's not stagnated. And so, if you want to do this type, you should, there are ways to do it, especially when he's not been sentenced or convicted and jailed.
All right.
But you are saying that they should terminate the trial, and you are trying to pressure the judiciary and government. So the security agencies might not want anyone to pressure judiciary to take in a decision or pressure the government.
I think the response to that some people may bring up will be the fact that there were actually court orders before now that had asked for him to be, allowed to let him off.
Well,
that ours is a government that operates the non-kinetic approach to insecurity, and there have been cases where terrorists have been pardoned. So if the argument from what you're saying, the way the government sees it is, Nnamdi Kanu is a terrorist, Nnamdi Kanu is leading a terrorist organization, there have been terrorists and bandits that have been forgiven, de-radicalized, reintegrated into the society. Shouldn't that measure apply?
Absolutely. If as simple as it sounds, but you must know that Nnamdi Kanu is not just a terrorist, someone that is driving a secessionist agenda.
By the way, just to clarify, the question I asked was based off what you said.
I understand.
Not necessarily,
I'm not responding
saying
for
that he's a terrorist.
Yes, no, that's what I'm saying, that the organization is designated. He is fighting to secede and break the country, and the president's oath of office is, I will keep the country together. So whoever goes to say what to break Nigeria into is a direct affront on the president failing in office not to keep the country together. And the armed forces are his tools to achieve that and maintain and ensure that. That's why if you look at all the national conferences, presidents are quick to tell the discussants that these are no-go areas. You don't discuss them, they are not negotiable. So what we have before us is that protest is right. You have a right to make a call, to do what you want to do, but also think about the implication. Because if you go ahead and things go out of order, it can embolden secessionist agitation even in the southeast, and that can be a direct threat to national security. Sowore is calling attention to a very important issue. I believe that a lot of people in the southeast have sympathy for him. I also believe a lot do not. So it's a very delicate balance. There are many people who feel a sense of loss as a result of the activities of IPOB, who today tell you with so many stories of how many people have been killed, even people that are dear to them. And there are people who do not also believe in secessionist agenda of the IPOB, who are Southeasterners. A lot of them are also in government. Government officials who are in leadership in the East, a lot of them do not want Nnamdi Kanu released. That's the truth. A lot of them do not want it, yes. Because their lives were thoroughly threatened during his activities. So the truth is, that's why Sowore is challenging them, that if you are calling for his release, join in the protest.
No, a number of Igbo leaders have actually supported Nnamdi Kanu. Yes, there are reasons why some of them will not support him because of politics and the political agenda. And part of the pushback, again, we've seen is this government, current administration, has just pardoned 175 people, many whom have been criticized. Yes, Nnamdi Kanu has not been sentenced, so a presidential pardon cannot apply to him. But the argument is that there's a selective leniency to a certain class of people. So these people who have been pardoned on the one hand, these terrorists who are reintegrated into the society under the guise of a non-kinetic approach. You have said here on this show that you believe the solution to the Nnamdi Kanu saga will be a political situation. If it is discovered that at the end of the day, this is a key part to restoring peace in the Southeast, why isn't this explored?
I think the government want to ensure that, there are many solutions that can be brought up on board. And I believe the president will want to apply the best. Political solutions, judicial solutions, whatever it is. For me, at this stage, I wonder why they did not take advantage of the window to have resolved the issue behind the scene. Yeah. But of course, the man has not been convicted and sentenced. It means that at this stage, his charges can be withdrawn and he is asked to go, meaning that he has not been thoroughly found guilty or non-guilty for the offenses for which he has been sent to court or he's been accused of. So the president might think, okay, let this thing take its full course and then we can apply, because until a man is done, you cannot apply prerogative of mercy when he has not yet been convicted. He could even be, innocent of the crime that he's been accused of.
All right. The only person I know that can take this case and put it to an end is the president, just like we had a legal practitioner who told us only the president can do that. Until he has been tried and convicted, then that's where the Attorney General of the Federation can also come in to ensure that he can put that case to a close.
But just to mention, I mean, we are still taking reactions. You feel free to drop your comment on YouTube regarding the Nnamdi Kanu case. You can agree, you can disagree. Your thoughts and your comments are very welcome. Also, we had a bit of an issue with the phone lines, but it's been sorted now, so please feel free to call in. We'd like to hear your thoughts. The numbers to call are on your TV screen. Our final paper today is The Nation newspaper, and I particularly want us to take the story, on the front page of the paper. Here we have PDP convention, Anyanwu protest forgery in letter to INEC. National Secretary seeks probe of suspected cloning. Battle rages in NWC over legal advisor. Government targets $75 million in Flutterwave's $250 million listing. Wow. Woo.
Sorry, okay. Come again?
Government targets $75 million in Flutterwave's $250 million listing. I'm hoping we can go into the details of that story. We will go into it.
Very interesting.
That story. Yeah.
Very interesting. English, maths, compulsory for O-level, says Fed government. Why did the federal government backtrack on this? We'll still talk about it. Ondo youth seek sack of NDDC board member. Free Kanu now. Protesters adamant despite police red alert. And finally, senator, actress wife accuse each other of drug abuse and violence. And that's where I'd like to get your thoughts. I don't know if you have the full facts of the case as made to the public.
Well, we hear Ned Moko's press release.
And have you heard Regina
Daniels' version of what happened? What we have of her is just altercation that occurred. The marriage between Ned and Regina is particularly interesting because the young woman gone into a marriage that has a lot of demand on her, on wisdom, on maturity, that I think she has not yet attained. And that can be a challenge for her. The marriage is not, first, it's not a monogamous marriage, and it's not with a man of her age class, and the other co-wives are not also of their age range. So she surely will have pressures that she might not understand. And this, what we hear the man say about use of drug, is very, very, very surprising and shocking that a wife of that, that is in that kind of protected environment is being accused by the very husband. And I thought Ned should have restrained himself a little bit instead of putting out that statement, except, of course, the fact that he finds himself being vilified for violence. Maybe he's trying to protect himself and put out a quick statement to douse the trend of conversation that is going on about.
So isn't he in a way also implicating himself by virtue of that statement? If you're admitting that your wife has been taking drugs, as a lawmaker, that means, what's the role of the NDLA?
Well, he's saying misuse of drugs and not trafficking it. So even if, I know.
But possession of certain kind of drugs is illegal.
The statement is really a serious statement, like I said. but he has already made it. And it means that he suspected that the wife was in this, and it is in the process of trying to stop her or correct it that he's now being accused of being violent. And he is saying that I have other wives, and none of my other wives have accused me of violence. And that is positive for him, because it's not as if it's only one wife, and that wife says, you are a violent man. He says, I have others.
Okay.
Why am I not violent?
Okay, we'll come back to talk about
so it's a very interesting development.
It's a delicate
but what
situation.
I want to say to her is, marriage is not for public showcase. Marriage is very, it's supposed to, it's not for public, youthful exuberance and social media life can never help in resolving conflicts in a marital relationship.
The first person to come out and cry out about domestic violence, in this case, is the wife. I haven't said anything about that, but we'll come back to that. Let's quickly hear from our correspondent. We have Aisha, who's bringing us updates regarding the protest. Good morning, Aisha. Where are you, and what's the situation with the protest?
Good morning, Oli. Well, right here, right now in our central area, and I'm just standing in front of the National Mosque, and behind me there is serious traffic congestion. And earlier this morning, the police even deployed tear gas canister in this area. Even though the protest is not happening in this particular area, it's happening in other parts of Abuja, but residents have had to face traffic gridlock, and they are stranded at the moment. For so many people, if you can hear in my background, so many people are here, and it's been almost 2 hours that they've been here, unable to move from point A to point B. And part of their concerns here is that if there was going to be a curfew today due to the protest, it should have been announced. Well, I have one of the residents here who would want to air out his frustration about how the police is carrying this particular protest. Good morning, sir. Please, your name. Okay, so tell me, you were telling me earlier about your discomfort.
I work opposite here about just opposite here. Every day I come to work, we know there is a protest. Yes, I'm not part of the protest. I'm going to work. And at the point, the government told me that it can't pass all of the police. And I told the police, please, can I at least go to work? I have a right to go. There's no conflict. When Nigerian police here sometimes, so a lot, they had the one, sometimes I think that this communication gap, there's a communication gap. You should ask me, compare for me. If I am part, even if I'm part of the protest, it's not our right, but I'm not part of the protest. I've never been part of the protest. I don't even like the protest at the first place. I've been part of those people. I've been part of people, educated people. There is no need for this protest. It's just
so what is the police telling you?
The police is not allowing me to move. In fact, one of the police said I don't have right to move. I said, Nigeria, I don't have right to move. Then what is the job of the police? They should be able to differentiate who is going to do another one. If I got sacked today, see, my company, we had an anniversary. My boss is not in the country. I am supposed to go on an advertisement for the company, which will be boss.
Well,
and now it is affecting me, and every other person is down there waiting for me. At the end of the day, if I don't respond, so probably they might see that I feel bad about it.
Okay, well, Olive, you have heard from one of our residents in the FCC here, and he had talked about his lamenting how the police have kind of, shut down the road in this area. It's just a little bit of a little movement here and there, unlike opposed to what we would see, especially on a Monday morning. So many people, so many residents are stranded in this area, unable to move and get to the place of work.
All right, Aisha, we can tell that it's starting to get a bit difficult, especially for commuters, just like you mentioned. We also heard that while you, journalists, and some of your colleagues were trying to cover the protest, you were equally chased out with canisters. And it seems like the police don't want to see any gathering of some sort anywhere. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, earlier this morning, when we were here, myself and other colleagues, like I said earlier, this particular area is not part of the places where the protest is happening. But because the police has already mounted a roadblock in this area and they are not allowing people to even move. So whilst we were here, myself and other colleagues, they first of all even asked us to leave that we're not allowed to stand in this area and cover whatever is happening. And there are lots of frustration on ground. We have to report what is going on. But right now, the later is on that and allowed us to, that is why I'm even standing here, and allowed us to stand and report on what is happening. But the residents are really complaining. They are even more of the priority here. They're not allowed to move from point A to point B. So many people, especially those who have to take cabs to get to work, their cabs are either being turned back around or they are just asked to step out of the vehicle and they're standing stranded, unable to get to work. And it's almost 10 a.m. and a lot of them are yet to get to the office.
All right, thank you very much. Please stay safe. We'll come back to connect with you again if we have more time. But now let's connect with Sage Ibrahim. We hear that Sage has been tear-gassed alongside other journalists. Sage, can you give us a report of where you were, what has happened, who tear-gassed you, and are you okay?
Well, Olive, yes, here I am back again. Same old story, same old situation. We were carrying out an interview with Barrister Kingdom Okere, just at the extreme, by the junction, at the way end there, when police officers suddenly surrounded us. Right?
Let's quickly take a video. And this was Sage, of course, speaking to the issues regarding the protest. Let's take a look.
The allegation of former Governor Maxwell Okpara. You and I, we are in this country when bandits in their numbers with their AK-47, with their arms and ammunition, came out in Katsina State, negotiated with government agencies. The DSS was there, the SSS was there, Army was there, police, all the security apparatus were there. Bandits, after negotiating and giving conditions, went back in convoy with their arms and ammunition. And until today, bandits are still terrorizing communities in that part of the country. Nobody is saying anything about it. Sure. You and I, we are in this country when former governor Aminu Bello Masari visited bandits in the forest. And few months after visiting bandits, the leader of that bandits that Masari visited was recruited into the Nigerian council and given 2 stars. So we are saying that all parts of this country, all citizens of this country must be treated equally. That is why we are out for this protest. You can't continue to hold Nnamdi Kanu because he's an Igbo man, and you are pampering bandits, you are sponsoring bandits, and all this. We are saying that in this country, no section must be treated as second-class citizens. I, Okere Kingdom, I refuse to live in a country where I will be subjected to second-class citizenship. I refuse it. I will agitate against it. I will refuse to live in a country where I will be discriminated against because now by the police. We're just tear-gassed right now. Right now, we're tear-gassed again. See, by the same police. We've been tear-gassed. One of them will be crying in Lembe.
Thank you very much, Sage. We want you to quickly wrap up with your report. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Olive. The network has been issued for the past few minutes here. So then behind me are, of course, men of the Nigerian army that have been stationed right here. I told you they've been surrounding this vicinity for quite a number of times now. Earlier, we were speaking to Barrister Kingdom Okere. All of a sudden, we were surrounded by men of the Nigerian police force who subsequently pelted us with tear gas canisters. If my mind and my memory serves me right, I think we're not more than 5 or 6 journalists, all of us who were there at that moment. In fact, in fact, just an interview that was going on. We were not causing any form of rancor. We were not even on the expressway. But then the situation is what it is. We were pelted, we were driven off. And in fact, they even made an attempt to capture one of us. Somewhere, somehow, some of us fell down. I suffered 2 bruises, but then it's not something that can be taken care of. But then this is the situation at the moment. Security continues to go around looking for the protesters who were here earlier but have since left. Back to you in the studio.
We want to be very, very careful and also take note that this might lead to either one challenge or the other. And just like you mentioned, part of the challenges you're going through is that you and the rest of your colleagues had to take to your heels. But let us know what the update is, especially with regards to protests. Are they still protesting? Do you still have people marching, or they've all dispersed and they've gone their separate ways?
You see, today is quite a number of issues wrapped into one. First of all, there's the NSAS memorial. Secondly, there's also the issue of the free Nnamdi Kanu as the case at the moment that's causing all of the issues And then if you consider all of the fact that the police right now is being the one among other security agencies who are on the street, are being the one pushing Nigerians back and of course stopping them from the rights of assembly as guaranteed by the Constitution, it really paints a sad situation. Because we know I cover the National Assembly, and several occasions we have reported retired police officers seated in front of the National Assembly, calling on the Nigerian lawmakers and the Nigerian government to intervene so as for them to get what is truly entitled to them. It's really, I must say, it's a sad thing, really sad to see that journalists were attacked, pelted with tear gas by the Nigerian police, even though we have been championing for their rights for the longest time. So it's a sad situation. But then really this is what the situation is. We continue to remain on the street despite of whatever the situation is, to bring the true report and the true situation of what is going on for Nigerians and of course the entire world to see. Thank you very much, Sage. Please do stay safe. We'll connect with you in subsequent shows. Let's wrap up here, Mr. Katuba. Your final thoughts. I know you were to speak earlier to the Regina and Ned story.
Yes. What I said is she has not directly accused Ned of anything.
Well, we saw the videos.
No, the video did not speak that. She said violence in this place.
Well,
it didn't, violence can be either between her and someone or someone with her or co-wives. She did not mention who is violent. That's what I'm saying.
Her brother did.
No, that's what I'm saying. We're speaking
so she said in Ned Woko's house, she's treated someone like when she goes to her house,
she's nobody.
That she's tired of this violence. And then her brother...
But that is not an accusation on Ned. That's what I'm saying. Her brother's comment, she's not a central figure in the matter. So we don't... You see, accusations does not...
They are not facts.
They are not facts and they are not guilt. What we can pick now is what the man has said. We wait for her to actually make an official statement. That will now be able to give us a balance.
And I'm also aware that, in a public space where everybody is a judge and a jury, it's always very dicey when images are being shared and statements are being made. I've studied this social media thing when it comes to this relationship. Yeah. If care is not taken, you have like I always say, it's very good to have all the facts detailed. Once they are detailed, then you can make a concise
judge.
Well, while I agree with the both of you, I don't think we can clearly say she wasn't accused of, that Ned Nwoko was, that Regina did not accuse him of violence. If not, that would not have necessitated the response that Senator Ned Nwoko gave, where he said, I'm not the violent one, Regina is the violent one here, that none of his wives can say he's violent. So that was because he recognizes that video is an accusation of violence.
He recognizes the trend of conversation.
It's the trend of conversation.
There's no direct accusation. Yeah. He is seeing that everything is imputed on him as violent and beating her. So the man is responding. And he's also a lawyer. He's intelligent enough to put this ahead of time, knowing full well that if divorce comes in, children, custody also.
So you don't think there should, do you think there should be an investigation here?
Absolutely. No, if there is a direct report. Otherwise, you can't just swoop into a family where no one has
I don't agree with you. There is a very clear
we have to draw the curtains there. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's how we wrap up the show, guys. We'll have a special broadcast. Kicks off very soon. Like, as a matter of fact, like now, you've got Benga Aborowa, who left us to join forces with Toluwadele Balogun. They'll be taking us through the hashtag NSAS Memorial for 2022, if you recall. And then, of course, they'll be covering the entire thing that's happening there in the FCT concerning the hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu. From us here, live in the studios, I am Joe Hansen, telling you thank you for watching.
And I am Olive Emodi. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.